There is a saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, who's doing the beholding? I challenge that statement a little bit. Beauty radiates from within. When you are in true alignment, your beauty shines forth and you can't stop it. It's contagious like a wildfire. Join me this week as we talk about authentic beauty, me and Miss Kellie Michele. And we look at beauty is so much more than just skin deep.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your menstrual health, offering period solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am joined today by Miss Kellie Michele, and we're having a conversation that is real and raw and all about authenticity. Welcome to the show, Kellie.
Hi, thank you for having me, and I am excited to have this conversation with you today.
So, Kellie contacted me, and she has such a beautiful journey and story. And I thought that it would be an excellent fit for Reproductive Rebel because authenticity, your true voice, getting in touch with your inner truth is such an important part of your overall health picture, whether that's physical health, emotional health, or spiritual health. And she has a beautiful story that I just had to have her on. So, would you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to what you are doing now?
Okay, great. Yes, my name is Kelly Rhymes, and I'm known as Miss Kellie Michele on social media. So if you ever see me out there, that's where you'll find me. And basically, what happened is I pretty much lost my hair at the early age of, I think I was like 28, 29. So I began losing my hair and I went through years of denial, frustration, trying to figure it out on my own, just trying to go to different doctors for solutions, just not to have any success because I have alopecia. And the type of alopecia that I have is called, the nickname is scarring alopecia. So basically, what happened was my scalp became scarred. My follicles began dying and coming out due to the hair products I was using when I was younger. This has happened to a lot of people, but we didn't know back then what was happening. We didn't know that these products would damage our scalps and hair and different things like that. So it has led me to basically having to embrace the hair loss and be comfortable with myself for who I am and know that I'm still beautiful, even though I have hair loss. I still have a life to move forward and to share with other people. And that has really been my journey. And now I'm here supporting other women be their authentic self because I went through my own journey of building myself up, regaining my confidence due to that hair loss, and just being confident and bald at this point.
Wow. And if you're watching any of this on the video clip, Miss Kellie Michele is an absolutely radiant human being from the inside out.
Thank
So when we talked in the screening call, I was like, oh, yes, we need to talk about your story because we internalize the societal expectations around beauty and work and how we're supposed to allegedly show up in the world as women.
you.
And our physical attributes have so incredibly large amount of emphasis due to the social constructs that have been created in our culture. And that takes an immense toll on people's mental health and well-being.
Okay.
Would you want to talk a little bit about your journey and some of the resources that you're providing now so that others who are struggling with the same thing have a community to be with?
Sure, yes. So, as far as my journey, as I mentioned a little bit before, I went through years of denial. When I say years, it was a long time where I was trying supplements, natural hair oils, things that I thought and I was researching that said would help with hair loss. I just did as much as I could. I went to a transplant doctor to get hair transplants.
Yep.
I was not a candidate for that because of the type of alopecia I have. They were like,
Oh.
pretty much gonna waste your money. If we transplant the hair from the back of your head to the spots that are missing, your hair follicle is just eventually gonna come right back out and die. So there's no point of you wasting your money on this. So it was a lot of frustration, sadness, because again, I'm going through all of these things trying to figure out, how do I get my hair to grow back? How do I fix this? Because I did not want to accept that my hair was just gone and I couldn't do anything about it. And
Mhm.
realistically, when I look back at it, I lost a part of myself. And I didn't look at it like that then, but reflecting back on it now, I definitely lost a part of myself. And I probably needed to go through a grieving process back then, but I didn't know, I didn't know about mindset. I didn't know about, things I should do or could be doing because of my hair loss.
Mhm.
So now, because I've gone through all of these things, now I realize, like, okay, I could have handled that a little bit better, but it is what it is. But I really had to stop the negative self-talk. I had to
Mm.
stop thinking that I look like a man without any hair, or even with a short haircut, I've still had a challenge with that. So I really had to get that out of my head. Know that no, you're still pretty, you're still beautiful, you're still feminine. Because again, sometimes women lose or feel like they're not as feminine without hair. And
Mm.
you said society has put so much on us saying we have to have this long, flowy hair. It has to be thick. It has to be this and that. And most women aren't achieving that without extensions,
Mhm.
especially at a certain age. Now, maybe when you were a teenager or, early 20s, you may have had your thick hair. But as we get older, we know things change. Our bodies change, hormones change. All types of things happen, right?
Yeah.
So it was just really just getting those negative emotions out, the negative self-talk, all of those things just had to come out. And I had to just really create a new identity without hair because my identity was attached to my hair. Every, 2 weeks or so, I'm going to get my hair styled. I'm making sure it looks good when I'm going to work. Every little thing about my life was, how does my hair look? Do I look
Yeah.
okay? Not leaving the house if my hair doesn't look okay. So being attached to that identity and then having to change that totally to say, hey, now I don't have hair. So this is my new identity. This is who I am. So it's time for me to embrace myself and other people have to embrace me too. But I have to embrace myself first before
Mm.
other people will, because I cut my hair off one other time and I was not prepared, mentally prepared at all. It was something I had to do. It was all negativity that came from that. It was like, I didn't feel good about myself. I was getting negative comments from people. It was just certain things that basically made me go back to wearing wigs because I didn't feel good about myself. But when I worked on myself and actually changed my mindset and looked at myself in a positive way and changed that identity, cut my hair off for the second time when I was actually prepared and ready, then I got all of the positivity. Since my confidence was up, my energy was up, then I attracted all of the positivity. So that is why now I've gone into helping women who either have hair loss or if there are any other physical challenges that are emotionally draining you or giving you that emotional negative self talk. I help with that as well because A woman with hair loss going through that and those negative emotions attached to that is the same as a woman who may have lost an arm or may have, some other things going on that is affecting her self-esteem. So my purpose is to just build women up so that you are still beautiful regardless of what has happened or what is currently happening.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so many things I want to pull out of that. So, first and foremost, though, I was listening to the way that you were talking about, your hair being part of your identity. And I see this in women in my practice all the time when they are going through breast cancer treatment
Mhm,
and they have to have a mastectomy or even a double mastectomy. And having the curves helped them in terms of their identity
mhm,
around what it is to be female and to be a woman. I've seen this in my practice around, and I've experienced this at some level myself, dealing with recurrent miscarriage or fertility challenges when women feel like, well, geez, like being able to have a baby should be one of the most basic things that my body should be able to do.
mhm,
And it's not. Like, that challenges my sense of identity as a woman.
mhm,
And the hard part is that a lot of these are culturally reinforced, and we've really lost sight of the fact that beauty really comes from within, and it is intrinsically tied to our essence self, who we are in our heart and our souls.
mhm,
And when we're able to plug into that energy and believe without a doubt that we are radiant, that we are magical, that we are giving things to the world that no one else can in a way that no one else can, it totally changes the vibe. Like you were saying, like it changes that negative self talk.
mhm.
Oh my gosh, that negative self talk, that inner critic is an ass.
Isn't it?
Oh my gosh, they're so mean. They are
Yes,
so mean and they tell you so many things that aren't true.
right,
But
right,
that voice comes from things you've been told, things you've heard, things you've been taught to believe, but it's all external, it's all outside of you.
right.
When you were a kid, you could have mud from one end of you to the other and still think that you are a radiant human being because you are in your joy. You are being your most authentic, radiant self. And maybe you look like a walking mud pie at that moment in time. I'm just thinking about my girls growing up, right? Like, but it doesn't matter whether
Right.
you on the outside look like Pigpen, you still could like walk the catwalk with all of that sass and pizzazz if
Mhm.
you're feeling it from the inside out.
Yes. And to your point, that is exactly what, like I experienced, just feeling that energy just it's just so high. It's like I know I'm good. I feel comfortable. I don't care what people have to say. And that's where we have to get to. Because society's standard of beauty is unrealistic. We have to change.
Mm.
We have to change that because we have so many people in this world, shapes, sizes, differences, right? But then why do we have one standard of beauty? That doesn't even make sense, right?
It totally doesn't because, based on different cultural backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, you get different body builds, you get different
Yeah.
facial shapes, like all of these kinds of things. And it really does come down to the fact that, like, you could be the most aesthetically perfect human, which perfection is a myth. Let's just put that out there. But,
Right.
like, you could be the most aesthetically perfect human and not be radiant
Correct.
because you're so immersed in that internal landscape of comparison, right? Our cultural context has fed this environment of competition between women, comparison to other women, and all we do is dim our shine and our light when
Mhm.
we're in that kind of quote unquote adversarial environment rather than being like, Girl, you look beautiful today. And inevitably, her response is, I haven't washed my hair, or I got these shoes at Target, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Mhm.
always that kind of a response instead of, you know what? I feel beautiful today. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, women have to learn how to, what they call, take up space. That's a tip.
Mm,
Like, like, be you, be bold, move, and take up some space when you walk in a room. Don't shy away from your glow. If people are looking at you, embrace that, accept that. Don't think it's negative.
mhm.
And again, that's something I had to learn because when you cut your hair off, of course, you're going to attract more attention, right? So
Yeah.
people are going to look. But that's one thing I had to do to prepare myself. I had to get used to people looking at me and watching me and staring, and staring at me. I had to get comfortable with that. And, now that I am, it's like, okay, no big deal. But, you have to show that confidence. It's just that your beauty comes from within, just like you said.
Mm,
And to your point, you could be the most beautiful person in the world, but ugly on the inside, and that's
mm,
going to come out, right? So let's just let go of all of that. Let's just embrace who we are as we are and hold our heads up high. And let's move forward because you were put on this earth for a purpose. That's what matters, right? That is what matters. You do the work you're supposed to do in this lifetime. Let's focus on that.
sister, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, when you focus on that purpose, you can't help but be radiant
Mhm.
because it lights you up inside. It
Yeah.
makes you feel alive and electric, and you tap into that inner turn on where
Mhm.
you're like, I'm doing great things in the world. I feel magnificent. I look at this in my own life. I used to be the kind of person that, like, there was never a hair out of place, like,
Uh-huh.
ever.
Uh-huh.
And now, if it's humid and I have, like, my lion's mane tendrils, I, like, totally don't care. I'm just like, I'm living from my heart. I'm
Yes.
doing what I'm passionate about. This podcast is something I'm passionate about because these are conversations that affect our health,
Mhm.
inside and outside. Because when we internalize this stuff, it shows up as cycle related problems. It shows up as digestive issues. It shows up as sleep issues, or I put on mystery weight and I don't know why.
Right.
Like, because we literally are being eaten from the inside out.
Yes. And stress is a big thing.
Oh
And
gosh, yeah.
when you are stressing over your appearance, that takes a toll of you. That's just one part of life, right? Just your appearance. We have all of these other things going on in life that we're stressing about, right? And just for myself, I developed fibroids. Now I'm like, I had them removed. So that's good. But the fact that I even developed these fibroids was a problem in itself. And there are so many women out there who are developing or have fibroids. And it almost seems like it's normal when I'm like, no, it shouldn't be, right? So we have to do things to make sure we eliminate that stress, take things off of us so we don't have these health issues. And worrying about something within yourself that you're not confident about, it will cause you stress, which can lead to, like we just said, other issues, and we don't need it. So let's eliminate it. Let's eliminate all of that. And so that we can be happy and healthy.
I completely agree. I see fibroids in people who have had a suppression of voice or suppression of
Mhm.
self,
Mhm.
and it's happened over a prolonged period of time for one reason or another. We're starting to see these kinds of disharmonies at epidemic levels because there are so many external stressors, cultural stressors, the fact that our bodies are expected to live in that spring and summer go all the time kind of energy. We
Yeah.
don't honor rest in the Western culture. Like, there's just so many things where the emphasis on productivity and all of that just makes it impossible to be a thriving human being
Yes.
unless you're like, nope, here I'm setting intentional, healthy boundaries. And I'm not going to apologize for
Yes.
the fact that I need to hold this space here for me in order to be able to show up in the best way possible for you. So it's that same kind of idea, like putting on your oxygen mask before you do it for somebody else. It's totally that concept where, we have to pour back into our cups. We have to do that deep internal work and really look at, why do I feel this way? What is it that is stealing my joy? And what can I do about it? What would feel aligned to me to
Mhm.
be able to address this?
And that's a good key point. What feels aligned to me? What feels good to me? Those are some big things, and they're very important when you're making decisions about anything in life. And I know I didn't always think about that. That wasn't always at the forefront of my mind when thinking about my life or the decisions that I'm making. But the other thing I want women to know is give yourself grace. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. I know, you have a lot of demands. I know I have a lot of demands between business and family and, all kinds of things personal, but we have to be gentle with ourselves. And if it's a time where you're drained and you need that nap and it's the middle of the day, you probably have other ton of stuff to do for the rest of the day. Stop and take an hour and take that nap. Okay,
Yeah.
but that stuff will get done. I mean, I know it may be pressing to you, but realistically, does it have to get done today? And we need to think about those things. Let's just take a time to pause, take a breath, go for a walk, do something you enjoy doing for you so that you can be the best you that you can be.
Oh, beautiful. Truer words could not be spoken, my friend. It is so true. Like, even when we take those small pauses to fill our own cup, whether that is having an uninterrupted cup of coffee and actually being able to, if you have kids, you're going to laugh at this, but being able to complete a hot cup of coffee from start to finish, sometimes that can feel like quite a chore.
Uh-huh.
However, just taking that moment for you and slowing down and not doing the death scrolling online and like really getting into your body and going, what do you need today? How are
Right.
we feeling today? What can we do to feel better today? What are we excited about today?
Mhm.
And like taking time to just take that little short mental inventory. It doesn't have to be long, but you're coming back home to yourself.
Yes.
And the more that you're in touch with that little girl on the inside that doesn't care if she looks like Pigpen and just is living in the magic and wonder of the world around her,
Mhm.
the happier you're going to be, the more free you're going to feel because societal expectations are bullshit. They keep us small, they're designed to. And we're better than that. We deserve better than. And when we can just be our true, authentic self, we are radiantly beautiful from the inside out. We can take on any challenge that's in front of us. We have tapped into our creative energy and our creative potential to build and do and make whatever we want to in this life, whether that's creating life from our body or creating our life from that inner knowing and energy.
Mhm.
Sky's the limit.
Yes. Definitely, definitely. And when people think of authenticity, they think about, oh, that's just me being myself. But what does that mean? And what you just said breaks that down. What does
Mm,
that mean, right? It means making decisions that are the best for you, and being real about that and not
mhm.
caring if you upset people. You set those boundaries. Okay, who cares if your mom gets upset about that? Because you don't want to do something for her that doesn't make you happy. So understand that authenticity is just not about the physical. It's all about the mental, the physical, the spiritual. All of that plays a part in you being your true self and embracing that and accepting that. And again, going back to not caring what other people think about
Yes.
decisions and what you're doing for you. Because people are quick to have their opinions, especially, your close friends and your family. They're quick to say something. But if you feel within you that whatever it is for the good or it's going to serve you, go follow your heart. Follow your heart and do that thing. And again, goes back to being your authentic self.
I love that. Well, and I was just thinking as you were saying all of that, and it was so beautifully worded that their judgments, their statements, their comments, their criticisms come from their sense of self worth. That's
Yes.
a really important distinction to make because a lot of times we internalize comments like that, thinking that they're a judgment statement about us. But
Mhm.
really and truly, if you break it down, that comment is being generated by somewhere inside of them that has been made to feel inadequate, has been taught to find fault with, has come from feeling imperfect and that there's something wrong with that. I mean, we are human. We are perfectly imperfect. We are not meant to be perfect. We cannot be perfect. Nothing is perfect. Perfection is an illusion.
Right.
And yet we grow up in certain times in history, certain societal expectations, certain standards of beauty, certain expectations around our gender performance, around, the list goes on and on.
Mhm.
And the happier I became when I started realizing that that comment is coming from their wounded place and not
Right.
from anything that is actually wrong with me. And sometimes when you stand in your light and in your power and in your sovereignty and you're expressing your authentic self, it can be very jarring for people because they're like, where does she have the gall to say something like that?
Or
Right?
do that or do something like that. How dare she?
Right? But that statement is usually coming from, well, I wish I had the stones to say something like that. So
Exactly, exactly. They wish they could do it, or sometimes it may come out of fear because they
also
love
true.
you so much that they wanna protect you, they wanna make sure you're safe and, all of those things. So they may say some things out of fear because they want to protect you. So keep
Mhm.
that in mind as well. But the main thing is that as long as you are okay with whatever's happening and how you feel about yourself, that is all that matters. So you definitely have to be careful
Mhm.
about who you talk to, who you share with. And if you see that some of your loved ones are not, I guess, speaking to you in the most positive way or helping you out on your authenticity journey, then you may have to stop talking to them about certain things. Not to say to cut them out, but maybe that's not a conversation you need to have with them. But there are going to be friends and family and support out there where you can talk to them and they will build you up and get you to where you need to go to.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
That,
It sounds
that.
hokey and I say it a lot, but it's so true. Like people who understand and can see that inner light shining through,
Mhm.
they're going to be in your corner no matter what. You're going to meet kindred spirits that understand where you're coming from, that space that you're in, and go, oh, sister speaks for me. I see myself in your journey. I totally resonate with that. Here, let me show up for you because I know what it's like when people weren't there for me. And that is such a powerful place to be because you end up surrounding yourself with like-minded people that you can feel safe and vulnerable and share these kinds of things with. And a lot of times, I always used to think authenticity and vulnerability were a weakness. And if you're familiar with, or anyone listening is familiar with Brené Brown, she challenges that a lot, that vulnerability actually takes an immense amount of courage.
Oh, yeah.
And it really does. And like flipping that frame and saying, you know what, it takes a lot of strength for me to be my authentic self in the face of adversity and in the face of celebration, stepping into that true power that I hold inside of me
Mhm.
is not only the healthiest, but can be the scariest thing that you could possibly tackle.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. But one thing I do believe is that you have to face your fears. You never grow until you face the fear. So if you are trying or if you are on your authenticity journey and that fear is coming up, no, you got to push past it. You have to push past it in order to come out on the other side to be the person you are supposed to be. So keep moving forward. It's not going to be easy. It's not. Like I said, my own story. I am an introvert. I always stay in the background. I don't really like people staring and looking at me. I don't. But I had to get comfortable with that. And now I'm to the point where I block it out. It's like, that's just how I manage it for
Mhm.
myself. But it was facing that fear
Mm.
when in public, sitting by myself in public. And, I know people were lucky. I getting comfortable with that and keeping it moving. Face your fears. Don't let that stop you from having that joy in your life.
Oh, I love that. It made me think of a few things when you were saying that. One of them, and I might butcher this quote, but on the other side of fear is everything your heart desires. It's so true. Facing that fear, there's a lot there. I also deeply resonate with the introvert and yep, y'all looking at me. I don't know how I feel about this. Yep, I get that too. As I stepped into the work that I'm doing, I had that same experience. I'm like, oh, I have to put my face on social media more. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. But, it's where people connect with you.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about the work that you're doing with women for just a minute because I think the work that you're doing is really important because it's about creating that safe space
Yeah.
for people to walk through their fear and feel supported. So, talk a little bit about the work that you're doing and how you support women who are coming through the same journey.
Yes. So basically, what I do is I take women through a 90-day program where we sit and we focus on whatever it is that's emotionally challenging you so that we can get rid of that. So, for example, with hair loss, we sit and if you feel like you look like a man and that's just a challenge you're having and that's preventing you from cutting your hair off or that's preventing you from having that confidence that you need, well, we're going to start there. I take women through different processes to eliminate these negative emotional charges. And those are one-on-one sessions I do with them. And then on top of that, we have like a daily journaling. So I give people a journal where write it out. Like if you don't want to talk it out, if you're not comfortable, some things come up in the middle of the night. Write it out. If it's keeping you up at night, write
Mm.
it out. Let's set some goals. How do we want to feel next week? What do we want to accomplish this week towards our journey, moving forward? Affirmations, like just different things like that. So let's get that out. In addition to that, support. I have a Facebook group, for support. And it's just really about getting together, speaking with other women who have had your same experience or they can very much so relate to you. And just getting feedback or just talking and feeling comfortable and feeling safe to do that. So just having that support because when I was losing my hair, I mean, I didn't know where to turn. Only thing I knew to do was go on YouTube University and try to figure out, well, what can I do? What are people using? And Google. Those were my friends. We're just Googling at YouTube University. I didn't have anybody to talk to because I didn't know anybody else with hair loss.
Mm.
I didn't even know to go to certain support groups for alopecia or anything like that. That wasn't even on my mind because again, I spent so many years in denial that just is not where I was going. I'm just like, I'm going to fix it? So just things like that to help build women up because I want them to come out of this within the 90 days like, okay, I'm ready. Now, I'm not saying you have to be ready to shave your hair off or, do different things, but whatever it is you choose to do, I want you to be ready and confident to do that. So you want to keep wearing wigs, you want to wear bandanas, hair wraps, whatever that is, you're going to hold your head up high. If you choose to go out one day without any hair. And the next day you have on a wig, you're fine. Either way it goes, you're comfortable, you're confident, and you are not scared and hiding from society because of whatever you have going on.
I love that, so that you have the confidence to do what feels aligned to you from day to day.
Yes.
That's so, so powerful. So, if any of our listeners are struggling with alopecia, how can they become part of your program?
Well, you can just visit my website. So the website is limitlessmindsetcoach.com. And just book a call with me. Let's chat. Let's talk. I like to get to know people. I want to know if we're going to be a good match to work together. So that's how we start. Let's start with a conversation. I want to hear about your goals, what your challenges are, so that we can see how we can move forward. So go ahead and visit my website at limitlessmindsetcoach.com and book a call with me.
Perfect. Perfect. And is it the same handle on Instagram if they want to follow you?
So on social media, I am on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under Miss Kellie Michele.
Miss
So
Kelly
you
Michelle.
go out there, MS, Miss Kellie, Kelie, Michelle, Michele. You'll find me.
Perfect. And we will have all of this information in the show notes so that you can reach Miss Kelly Michelle and take advantage of her beautiful resource. Thank you so much for your time today, Kelly. I really appreciate it. And this has been such a beautiful conversation around your authentic self and coming home to alignment.
Yeah.
And I love the work that you're doing. I really celebrate the fact that you've taken this difficult time in your life and you've turned it into such a beautiful gift for other people. And I hope that this podcast, feel free to share it. If anyone listening knows anyone who is struggling with alopecia and is looking for support, Miss Kelly Michelle is such a beautiful resource. And I'm just grateful for your time today and sharing all of your wisdom. Is there any final thoughts that you would love to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, if you are struggling, like I said earlier, with any type of hair loss or anything physical about yourself, if you're struggling mentally with that, please get some help. Especially if it's causing you to have depression or anything like that, make sure you go see a therapist, contact someone to help support you. And if it's just about boosting your self esteem up, reach out to me. I am here for you.
I love it. Well, thank you again so much for your time. It has been such a pleasure getting to know you and sharing your wisdom with our audience. We'll have all of the contact information for Miss Kelly Michelle in the show notes, and I will see you all next time.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.